Berry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. And just as I went live, of course, my throat would do something. But I am so thankful to be able to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yesterday's hearing with Sarah Boone, it started with the detective that originally read the Miranda rights in the car and then read them later before the second interview. And she I don't know, like I really appreciated all of her facial expressions and everything. I'll be interested to see if she acts differently when the jury is there. Because you could tell that she was annoyed with the questions, like, you could just tell, and I don't blame her, because the question that wasn't read is something to the effect of, "Now that you've been read your rights, do you understand these rights, and are you willing to talk to us?" That's how the rights normally go, and at no point did Sarah seem like she did not want to be there or she did not want to talk with them. She's going to say that she was traumatized. She's going to bring up alcohol, like Sarah's going to bring up the alcohol. And we have got to get into this. And someone mentioned, did she perjure herself? And I think the prosecution is going to be submitting information because they are concerned that what she is saying now is so she can get away with the crime. I don't know how else to say it. Like, they're alleging that her story has changed so significantly that they have concerns about her testimony, because the prosecution's battered spouse syndrome expert met with Sarah. The prosecution was there and the defense lawyer was there as well. So the prosecution is aware of what Sarah is going to say happened, and they have concerns. We do not know what those concerns are yet. I'll definitely keep an eye out for this. I am just I just can't. Um, and we are also, so before the end of this, I'm going to show y'all, I am working on a trial bingo card, and the goal is going to be for there to be at least like 4 or 5 different cards. I will have those finalized by no later than Sunday, maybe Saturday. And once they are available, they will be on the community tab. So we are going to have some Sarah Boone trial bingo cards. And it's not too, like, because this is a serious process, but in the midst of this, you just it's so out of there. I cope through laughing, okay? I totally cope. And Legally Blonde made her own bingo card, and I took some inspiration. And so Legally Blonde, I have your username written on my card because I really appreciated. Yes, your boo. So and I changed it. So Legally Blonde has Boon Go cards. So not bingo, Boon Go cards. And so we are going to share those at the end. So the audio for this portion was horrific, but I do just want to share some of her facial expressions. Okay. So I believe she's being asked questions by Owens, and she's going to let us all know exactly what she thinks.
Questions to her in your squad car.
Nobody's talking yet. I don't, maybe this side. Sorry.
Correct. Do you know how many questions you did read to her?
8.
Okay. And
The way she said 8. the way she said 8. Oh, poor. And she looks fabulous. Like I've she and not that people have to look fabulous after having a child 4 years ago, but she looks fabulous. I couldn't help but mention that.
the question you omitted is question number 9. Is that correct?
Yes, it's actually not on my Miranda card.
I'm sorry?
It's actually not on my Miranda card, but continue.
Not on my Miranda card that I read from. Continue.
What do you mean by that? It was the card that you read, it was not on the card?
We have multiple Miranda cards at the sheriff's office, but yes, that is.
And so they get into the fact that this is policy. They are trying so hard to get this thrown out. And to me, I have a lot of respect for defense lawyers because everybody deserves a good defense, and the state should have to prove their case. And the defense is trying to get this thrown out. And so um I think Owens is the perfect lawyer for Sarah. He's willing to get up and say and do things that other lawyers probably weren't willing to do. And not that he's doing anything wrong, but at times he is objecting but not giving a reason. And I hope I have a moment because there's a point where he objects and I think he just didn't like the question. I think he legit just didn't like what was being asked. And so we're going to fast forward to Sarah's testimony, 132:26. If you would like to see this without my commentary, please check the link in my description, okay? And we are at normal speed.
Ms. Boone can approach the podium. She was previously sworn at the beginning.
Should y'all be here?
Yes, sir. Hang on, the deputy's got to move her.
Exactly.
Ma'am, you've already been sworn. Counselor, you may proceed.
They're
And
gonna
would you
fix
please
the
state your
mic
full name?
a few times.
Sarah Boone.
Well, you're going to have to speak up or move the mic.
Sarah Boone.
Yes.
Where are you currently housed?
This part annoyed, but it's fine because they're going to bring up the fact that she's been detained ever since this interview, but okay.
At the Orange County Corrections Department.
Have you been there since February the 25th of 2020? Was that the date of this interrogation that we're here for on this motion?
Yes.
All right. Let me take you back to the morning of finding George Torres in the suitcase. You called 911.
I missed that the first time. So she, I guess, didn't know he was deceased until the next morning, which I'm not sure how that can be self-defense. So did you intend for the result to be the result? So they're still saying that she found him, that she went to bed and thought he was alive. Okay, that's what they're going with.
911.
Yes.
Is it true that Detective or Deputy Kayla Rodriguez of the Sheriff's Department arrived?
Yes.
What mental state did you have at that time?
Mental state.
I was very confused. It was very hazy. I didn't understand the monumental amount of people that were there, and
I was confused. I was hazy. I didn't understand the monumental amount of people that were there. Ma'am, your boyfriend died. And I believe it was ruled a homicide. And she didn't know this at that time. They are investigating a suspicious death at this time. I can understand her confusion. She's going to pull a Robert Tellis where she's going to try to talk about the state that the search left her house in, which I'm not surprised.
what they were doing with taking things from my home. I was worried about my dogs. I was worried about my son. I was in shock. I was traumatized by the situation and then trying.
She was traumatized by the situation. We talk about Darvo a lot, and one of the bingo card options is going to be Darvo. Deny, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Like, she's traumatized because of what she's going through. George is deceased. She's going to talk about that. She was afraid of what his family was going to do to her. Like, I just,
to focus on everything that was going on at my home. I was hungover. I was
hungover. I was hungover. The state is going to do a beautiful job coming back, talking about her state of mind if she was hungover in this moment, because I don't think she ever admitted that before on any of the other interviews. And I wish they had gotten her blood alcohol content. I wish that they had done a BAC on her that morning. Just how intoxicated was she at that point? Gretchen, I agree. I thought she couldn't get drunk. But now she's blaming it on the alcohol. Like, I just can't with Sarah. We might have to blame it on the alcohol to the bungo loose, to the bungo. Oh my gosh.
I believe intoxicated to a degree.
Objection, Judge. Move to strike. This is outside their motion to suppress. They have not made any allegations that her statement was involuntary because of her mental state or state of intoxication.
Response?
Judge, we're talking about, I'm just getting some preliminary information.
But
Her interrogation is the next day.
the state has an obligation, and the case law cited by the state requires specificity in the motions. So it's not a game of 20 questions and a surprise.
Okay, this is the
Are
day
you-
before the interrogation.
I understand that.
We're not talking about an
But are
intoxication.
you going to be arguing anything in conclusion as to what happened on February 24th led to any coercive or coercion behavior on behalf of the Orange County Sheriff's Office on February 25th?
So to me, this is where I don't get borderline personality disorder features from Sarah. To me, she comes off as overly controlled emotionally when she wants to be. I personally feel, I have not assessed her. I'm not her psychologist. I do not know. I personally feel like she had a significant history with alcohol. She might have a diagnosis of PTSD from childhood trauma, but none of that excuses her behavior. So diagnosis just helps me understand, but it doesn't mean that you get to do whatever you want. To me, she comes off more narcissistic to me. Just, it's all about her. I think she is loving being up here and watching all of this play out. I truly think she's really enjoying this. And the reason why I continue to cover it is because I think we can learn from this. I'm sure there were people in her life that were like, something just seems off. And voluntary intoxication. So if the alcohol was a part of a factor of what happened, I'm not a lawyer, but from all the lawyers I watch, especially in Florida, she can't use voluntary intoxication as a defense.
Are you going to bootstrap or link any of those things together?
The interrogation in the squad car and what was said to her prior to getting in the squad car that relates to what she said about it being routine protocol, yes.
All right, I'm going to sustain the state's objection.
Overt.
Relating to the intoxication?
Yes. It wasn't raised in any of the three motions that have been filed.
Judge, I didn't ask her that. She volunteered
I
that.
understand it.
Okay.
Objection sustained and it's stricken.
Did you speak to the deputy about what had happened?
Yes.
Okay. And then were you asked to stay on scene?
By both, yes. By both detectives, yes.
Okay. How long did it take the detectives to arrive after you had spoken initially with Deputy Rodriguez?
It It was not right away. I don't know specifically, but it was not quickly.
Okay. Did detectives, the two detectives, when they arrived, did they take over the investigation?
It was my understanding, yes.
No foundation for her to conclude anything.
Sustained.
At some point, were the detectives directing you what to do and where to go?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll have to add that to the list too.
Can you explain what the detectives told you as it relates to you getting in the car? Was the phone issue before the car?
Yes.
Sustained.
Let me ask you about the phone. When were you first asked about your phone?
From my remembering, it was once they arrived, one of the first questions that Hopesall asked me was if I owned a phone.
And what did you tell her?
I told her it was on the kitchen counter.
I want you all to notice the clarity with which she's able to understand and answer her attorney's questions. On cross-examination, she's going to all of a sudden not know what words mean and how words go together. Because to me, the prosecution's question is pretty clear, but she's somehow not going to understand the question.
All right. And what happened next as it relates to the phone?
I believe that it was brought to her with someone else. I don't remember.
Sustained.
Cross-examination.
What was the next thing that you were told or talked to about as it relates to the phone?
Unlock it.
Who told you that?
Detective Hopesall.
How did you unlock it?
She handed it to me and I unlocked it.
How do you unlock your phone?
It was with a passcode.
Okay. And when you unlocked it, did you give it back to the detective?
I did.
All right. Did you ever see the phone again?
I did not.
Okay.
Because it was evidence in a crime.
After that incident, was the next time you were spoken to by Detective Copesall was in relation to the interview in the squad car?
Yes, she told me I needed to go with her and Detective Lowen to her unmarked vehicle.
This is a good question. So if for some reason Sarah Boone ever is released again, so I don't know if she's done any treatment. I don't know if she's acknowledged the role that alcohol has played in her life before. During the interrogation, she says she's never going to drink again, but it seems to be a way to kind of get out of trouble. And I've worked with people that have struggled with alcoholism, especially as a secondary, where it's a co-occurring disorder with a mental health concern, where they have depression, anxiety, PTSD. And alcohol is one of the worst things you can mix with PTSD because alcohol messes up your sleep cycle. It messes up your ability to like think before you act. So I would rather if my clients are going to do anything in Virginia, we have legal cannabis as a like a medical thing where people can get a medical card and they can talk like they can get it from a dispensary. And as long as they don't have negative interactions, as long as they're okay with that, if clients are going to do something, but alcohol is one because it lowers inhibitions. And I think she was a mean drunk. I think she got upset when she was intoxicated, and her ex Brian talked about how she would get aggressive towards him. And so those are my thoughts. In my personal opinion, she does not appear to take responsibility for her actions and the role she plays in things. And that is not great for potential prognosis. So a person has to admit that they have a problem. That's step one. And then they have to do the work to address that problem. And I don't know. I don't know if she's willing to do that. I don't know.
And did she tell you anything about what was going to take place once y'all got inside the vehicle?
That she was
I've
just
seen
going to be asking me general questions.
Was there ever any mention about normal protocol?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. What about once you got in the squad car?
I don't recall the squad car.
Okay. And that was recorded for the court to consider. And so she read you your Miranda rights?
Yes.
All right. Did you answer the questions?
I did.
So she read you your rights. You answered her questions. I can't wait. I don't think they're gonna get this thrown out. I could be wrong. I don't know that there's any evidence that she was promised anything, that she was coerced in any way. I'm not aware of anything. I could be, but I'm not aware of anything. And the police are able to trick you a little. So they are able to say, "Hey, oh, come on down, come and get your phone," knowing that, oh, you're going to be arrested. Your phone is part of the trial. You're never going to see that again. That wouldn't be something that was violate, to my understanding. And it will be up to a court to determine it. But police are able to do that. That's why your first thing is lawyer, 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 lawyer.
Did they ever
Or just don't do crimes. Don't do crimes.
indicate to you that you were a suspect?
No.
Did they ever indicate to you that you were a person of interest?
No.
Did they ever refer to the videos that you recorded on your phone from the night before? Were you ever questioned about those videos at the scene?
I was not.
All right, after they finished interviewing you in the unmarked vehicle, were you allowed to get out?
Yes.
She left.
Were you allowed to leave the scene at that point?
I was instructed by those to not.
Okay. And how long did you stay on the scene?
Don't do crimes.
The entire time.
How long was that? How long did it take before the investigation was completed?
10 hours or more.
At some point, did they all leave?
Yes.
And at some point, did they tell you they were finished with the work there at the scene?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do?
I went inside my apartment and gathered a few things, and then I went to my former husband's residence where my son was located.
All right, and how far was that away?
About 5 minutes.
How did you get there?
I drove
Okay. What was the reason that you wanted to stay over there the night?
because I was terrified of his family.
Now, later that evening, you were going to spend the night there with your son and with your ex-husband?
Correct.
And did you do that?
My son, yes.
All right. Later that evening, did you attempt to contact Detective Kopsel?
I did.
And whose phone did you use?
Former husband, Brian Boone.
You said your phone had been seized
Correct.
and you had consented to that? You signed.
All right. So I saw this question. Can anybody answer if they know what the reason was behind all of the defending attorneys to not take the case? So she's had previous attorneys. I think there might have been 4 or 5 of them that had previously defended George. And so they had to withdraw because of conflict. I think the longest attorney she's had, and I think Bankowitz did an interview with Court TV, was like a year and a half. She also had Padilla, who she had and that was a private attorney that she had that person for a period of time. And then she went through a bunch of others. I have a link down in the description where the judge goes over all of her history with prior attorneys. She has a history of being difficult. And Bankowitz said this was not a one-person case. What she requires, the amount of attention and support and the amount of input that she wants to have in the case, that it needed to be more than one person. And she had public defenders in the past. I think Brian might have paid, her ex-husband, I think might have paid for for one of them, like for a period of time and then stopped. But it's a whole thing.
Signed a form allowing them to take the phone?
Yes.
Have there been any discussion about returning the phone?
Kopsel told me she or Lowen or both would return back to my apartment to return my phone
And when did they tell you this?
before they left the scene.
And did they tell you they would return your phone where?
To myself at the apartment.
And is that what you understood they were going to do?
Yes.
Was there ever any talk about you coming to the sheriff's department the day of this event?
No.
The police are able to trick you. They just are.
All right, so later that evening, you borrowed your ex-husband Brian Boone's phone and made a phone call. How did you know Detective Copsel's private cell number?
She gave it to me before she left the scene.
That's common.
And did you call her?
I did.
Do you recall about what time you called her?
I believe it was around 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
And that would have been on February the 24th of 2020?
Yes.
All right, can you tell us why you were calling her that night?
Before she left and giving me her personal cell phone number, she told me if I were to recall anything or if I just wanted to talk to her about something regarding the case for me to call her. So I took that to heart and felt very uneasy about how they left the scene.
Sustained.
Go ahead.
There's no pending question at this time.
Okay, you were concerned about the case and you wanted to call her.
Yes.
And did you talk to her?
Yes.
What did you say to her?
I told her in all honesty that I felt that she was trying to trick me.
You're eligible for statement.
Sustained.
She can't talk about what she thinks somebody else was trying to say or do. This was a good question and a good place to pause. So Sarah, her face naturally turns down. She has that wrist, she has resting bitch face, but like it's just her face. But it's just how, because people whose mouths naturally turn down, sometimes they'll look upset even when they're not. And then we also have projection. So my heart breaks for George's family. And it's hard to see somebody not take responsibility for any of it. And her behavior has been escalating over this period of time. I am glad that she has a lawyer. This would have been hideous if she had to do this all on her own. It would be constant, Judge, I don't understand. I'm not a lawyer. I was forced to do this. Like, it would have been so bad. So I am glad that Owens stepped up. The prosecution has a solid case against her. And in my opinion, this is not self-defense. So self-defense is normally a more lethal form is normally used. Normally a pew pew, or like normally it's something lethal and fast. It's not a suitcase. And what this sounds like is an alcoholic blackout to me. I've said that a few different times, that she might have been able to talk it down to maybe manslaughter, because her initial statements of it wasn't intentional, it was not intentional, it wasn't on purpose. But that video she recorded with him in the suitcase is the most damaging piece of evidence they have. And I think once the jury sees that, I think it really says a lot. Those are just my thoughts.
Did you have a conversation about your phone?
Yes. I asked her.
Answered.
Yes.
Overruled. You may answer the question, ma'am.
She does, though.
For yes or no, I said yes, and now I don't know what's pending and how to object.
Did y'all have a discussion about your phone?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that discussion?
She told me that I needed to come down to the sheriff's department because she was pregnant, and asked me if I remembered about when I was being pregnant, and it would just be a lot easier for her if I were to arrive at the sheriff's department to pick up my phone.
Okay.
Was there any discussion about you being interrogated at the sheriff's department?
No.
Was your understanding the sole purpose of you going to the sheriff's department the next day was to pick up your phone?
Yes.
And the sole reason for the change in plans from them bringing the phone to you was because Detective Copsel was pregnant and not feeling well?
Correct.
So the next afternoon, did you drive to the sheriff's department?
I did.
Tell us, when you parked your car, where you went, what happened?
I parked my car and left everything as regular in my car, and walked through the front door and went to the window asking who I needed to see, and they, I guess, rang them upstairs, and Detective Lowen
But
came
she was drunk.
downstairs. And I thought I was supposed to be picking my phone up over at a particular window. And he says, no, your phone is upstairs. So we would just like for you to come upstairs, and that's where you can pick up your phone.
All right. And so did he escort you upstairs?
He did,
How did y'all get upstairs?
in an elevator.
And what was he wearing?
I believe he was wearing a red shirt along with his firearm and black pants
His firearm was on his waist?
the entire time, yes.
Okay. So y'all got off the elevator. Where did you go from there?
He brought me into a very small room, and they had me sit down, and then from there I had a list of things that I was going to ask.
She had a list. I think one of them, she wanted the ring back because I guess she had given George a ring and she wanted it back. But they weren't married or anything, so his personal effects go to his family. She can't get it, even because she was kind of mad because she's like, "But I paid for it." No, ma'am. His personal effects go to his family. His family is never going to give her that ring back. I wanted to talk about something. So, why do people lie? People lie for a variety of reasons. Some people are compulsive liars, where they will lie to you about the color of their shirt. They will lie to you about something that you can clearly see. Some people are pathological liars, and that's lying for a reason. They're lying for a purpose. They are lying to manipulate, control, those kinds of things. So right now, Sarah is trying to be creative. Do y'all remember her what's the word? Her ad where it's like, "Can you be creative?" So this was in my personal thoughts. So I don't know if she lied or not. I think the state thinks she's lying. They definitely think she's lying. But it's just it's it's so true, because she doesn't have Brian. She used her ex-husband's alimony to pay for her boyfriend's ring. Oh my gosh. Ooh. Okay, we're gonna keep going. I think I have to speed her up to 1.25. I just can't. We'll see. I'll slow it back down if we need to.
Them that I might need to do or that I could
It's too fast. We have to do normal. That's fine. We can do normal.
do.
Okay. So from the elevator, Detective Lowen escorted you directly into the interview room, and we've got the recording, the audio and the video. You didn't go anywhere else prior to that time. Was there any discussion that you made outside, any discussion between you and either detective about anything, the phone, questioning, anything before walking into that room?
No.
Okay. So directly off the elevator and walked into the interrogation room.
Correct.
And then we've got the video on that. Now, you and I have watched the video, correct? And you've seen the motion where I've referred to the questioning, where she asked you to sit down.
Yes.
You recall that happening?
Yes.
Did that refresh your memory watching the video?
Yes.
Do you recall her saying that she had received the autopsy?
Yes.
Do you recall her saying, "I want to read you your rights again because we have to talk about that," referring to the autopsy?
Yes.
This was prior to you being read your Miranda rights.
Correct.
She also said, "We're not done talking about the incident." You recall that?
Yes.
And then she said, "We just have to do it."
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Sustained.
Nope, nobody cares how it made her feel.
Were you trying to comply with the officer's demands?
Overruled.
In every
Same.
way.
Were you trying to cooperate?
In every way.
Were you polite with them?
Very.
And when she said that, we just have to do it.
So this is where, to me, Sarah comes off more like a covert narcissist versus Ali Abulaban and Robert Tellis that come off like malignant narcissists, the ones that everybody in the room knows, like you immediately do not like them. Sarah, you might initially feel like sorry for her. You might initially feel like, oh, but then you keep listening. The story keeps not adding up. You keep listening for a while and you're like, oh no, like there's something more here. My personal thoughts.
You said just like we did yesterday.
Yes.
And then you said normal protocol.
Yes.
Is that what she had said the day before?
What do you mean?
Normal protocol.
Yes.
Had she said the same word? You said normal protocol to her.
I was reiterating to her what she had said to me the day before.
Okay. His questions were
So she read the Miranda rights
they were.
to you,
Except number 9.
except number 9. She read the rights and then she said, do you understand what I've just read to you? And you agreed that you had.
Yes.
But you were not read having these rights in mind. Do you agree to speak to me now?
Overruled.
I was not asked that question.
Is it
But I think the defense is trying to say if she had known that she was going to be arrested, she wouldn't have talked. But that's why in the Miranda rights, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Like you can have an attorney. If that like Miranda rights are written that way for a reason. And so I think the defense is trying to say that she wouldn't have talked if she knew she was a suspect and she knew she was going to be arrested. But like the police can trick you. And Mr. Owens, in his statement where he's trying to defend Sarah, he kind of proves the point. It's like, yeah, the police can trick you. And to me, I think that's what happened. I don't know. We're going to keep going.
fair to say that after she read the Miranda rights and after she said, do you understand the rights that I've just read to you, that she read right into the questioning?
She did, correct.
So she never got the answer from you. Do you agree to speak to us now?
I was never asked that.
And number 9 is not that big of a deal to me personally. I think the prosecution.
The way that she acted, the things that she said, the fact that they had your phone. Did you get the impression you were not getting your phone back if you didn't answer the questions?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Sustained.
She was in custody?
It doesn't matter.
That's been conceded by the state in their response that it was a custodial
Okay,
interrogation.
but she wasn't aware of it.
She was happy.
She wasn't aware she was in custody.
What does her subjective perception matter?
Well,
Judge Kradek. Like the amount of zen, everybody that's watching, may your day have the peace and zen that Judge Kradek has when he's having to deal with foolishness like this. Because I would have been more like that judge in the Carly Gregg case of like, forget, like y'all are up here wasting my time and the jury's time. We're going to take us a pregnant pause. Like I would have been, I have no time for any of this foolishness. But Judge Kradek, he is so calm and so awesome. And so please know, so all you have to do is put questions. You don't have, I appreciate super chats. But I answer everybody's questions. If you do not ask if you're being arrested, the police do not they don't have to tell you they're planning on arresting you. Exactly. All right. I think we agree.
under the circumstances, it would matter. I mean, she didn't feel she was free to leave. She was in an enclosed small space.
That all goes to whether or not.
She was being questioned by 2 lead detectives, homicide detectives. One of them was wearing a firearm. She was trying to cooperate as best she could. I think her position is that she was coerced into answering the question.
What does that have to do with coercion? Those are all factors that under Ramirez as to whether or not it was custodial.
Well, I know some of the factors are whether or not the interrogation actually happens in a police station or not, or whether it happens outside a police station. So just that environment alone.
That goes to whether or not it was a custodial interrogation. I'm struggling with the connection on that being noncompliance with Miranda, coercion, or the third ground of voluntariness.
Well, and I think it goes subjectively to her and what she was feeling, if she had a free choice or not,
What's the subjectivity matter?
Excuse me,
What's the subjectivity matter under the case law?
based on the circumstances that she was dealing with at the time, whether or not she felt she had a choice.
But what does her subjectivity have to do with that?
Case law.
I believe it's relevant.
Objection's overruled. I'm sorry, the objection sustained. I apologize.
Did you understand you were not going to get your phone back until you answered their questions?
Sustained.
Did you have some questions for them at the end?
I did.
I'm not sure.
Did you feel like you had a choice in answering their questions?
If I had to guess, so I don't know exactly what's going on for her. She can probably tell when things are going her way and when they're not. And she doesn't like it when things don't go her way, like everybody does. And so that's just my initial thought.
Sustained.
Ma'am, that day, you came to the sheriff's department to get your phone?
Yes,
Did you know that you were going to be placed in custody?
I did not.
Did you know that you were going to be arrested?
I did not.
Did you know that you were going to be questioned?
I did not.
Were you trying to cooperate with law enforcement based on her statements that you have to talk to us?
Yes.
Overruled.
Were you there answering the questions because she confirmed that this was normal protocol?
That was my understanding, yes.
That's all the questions I have.
Any cross-examination?
So that afternoon on February 24th of 2020, when Deputy Kayla Rodriguez arrived at your residence shortly after 1 p.m., you were under the influence of alcohol, correct?
Yes.
You were impaired by alcohol, correct?
I don't know as much as impaired means. It did affect, yes.
Okay. And that was consumption from the night before, correct?
Yes.
So you did not go to brunch that morning and have mimosas or anything else to drink, correct? And you consumed no alcohol in your home that morning, correct? So does that affect in any way your memory when you testify about the events that transpired between you and Detective Copeland?
Psychologist here. Alcohol does have an impact on perception and memory. This was not a good look in my thoughts, my opinions. Okay. So we don't have to agree. And everybody is innocent until proven guilty. For me, I have admitted my bias with this case, and I'm not her therapist. I'm not her evaluator. I'm not involved with this case at all. I'm here sharing commentary on my channel. And so and I respect people that think differently. If somebody starts making comments about me personally or about other people personally, that's where you can feel free to comment someplace else, go to law and crime, do those things. But we just try to have a level of kindness, because anything I'm saying, so I don't think Sarah is necessarily like a bad person. I'm not judging her as a person. I am looking at her behavior and how she treats people, and how, in my personal opinion, she comes off incredibly entitled. Like those are my concerns with her behavior. Would I work with a person that has these types of behaviors, that engages in this type of thing? I'll be honest. Rarely does an individual with narcissistic features, rarely do they present to treatment. The person I normally work with are their children, their spouse. Those are the people. So the jury is going to be able to judge her. The jury is going to be able to do the judging. So the reason why I take judgment out of it, so that is a dialectical behavior therapy thing. It can make you less mad. So I'm not mad at Sarah. Like I'm not. So that's where looking at things non-judgmentally, it's a way for me to manage my emotions. It's a whole thing. But yeah, we'll keep going.
So that afternoon.
Ask one more time, please.
Did the alcohol have any effect on your memory of what happened between you and Detective Kopsel that afternoon?
Now or then?
Then,
Did alcohol affect my conversation with her?
there's a jury instruction that says a witness's memory and perception is pertinent. And I'm asking you, did the alcohol that you were under the influence of affect your memory or perception of the events that you've testified to today that you said happened on that afternoon of February 24th, 2020?
So did they affect my answer?
Judge, I don't think she understands the question.
I don't.
Okay.
It's been asked 3 different ways.
So we'll leave it at you were under the influence of alcohol that afternoon, correct?
Judge, I think she said she doesn't know what. She said that she had alcohol under the influence or impaired.
The objection is, the court does not entertain speaking objections. The legal grounds need to be provided. What are the legal grounds of your objection?
I don't like the question.
I know
Those-
that she said she didn't know what.
What are the legal grounds of your objection?
I'll withdraw.
All right, you may proceed.
All right. And you understand that you're charged with second-degree murder in this case, correct? You're facing a potential penalty of life in prison, correct? Do you understand that the score sheet minimum is probably about 22 and a half years?
So she's facing possibly a minimum of 22 and a half years. That's the minimum of what she's facing. So with this, and that is where people try to call her delusional, but I think she understands the words. I think she doesn't like the question. And for things that she does not like, she has a defense mechanism that blocks out things that she does not like. She had no problem answering all of her attorney's questions. Now, did they have to ask a whole bunch of times to get to the fact that she gave them the passcode for the phone? Yeah, but like she understood the gist of it. But then we get to the point where it's like, does your alcohol use impact your memory? Does it? Because yes, of course it does. It does. And so she did not like that question. And she has this inability to accept things that she does not like. And that's not psychotic. That's not a psychotic delusion. That's more of a personality. My thoughts, it's more of a personality thing. So now Lori Vallow, that was like delusion, like those were psychotic delusions. Okay. Sarah Boone, it's just more personality. Like that's the flavor I get from it. Those are just my thoughts. That's why her competence has never been raised. Nobody has ever felt that she did not understand what was going on for real. No, she doesn't like certain things. She doesn't understand why she's still incarcerated and why she can't have bail. They've explained it to her a million times, but it's more of a, she doesn't accept things she doesn't like. Personality. My thoughts.
I don't know.
Okay. And it is your desire to have these statements excluded from the jury's consideration, correct?
Judge, I would object to that.
Sustain the objection.
Your intent is to testify differently than you have testified in the statements in State's Exhibit 1, correct?
Regarding
I would object to that. I'm not understanding the question.
Mr. J.
Judge, a witness's bias is always at issue when they take the stand, and it's our position that her credibility for all the things that she has testified to today, that particularly the things in conflict with Detective Kopsel's testimony, and the court, of course, in a motion to suppress has to consider the credibility of the witnesses, and you are in the best position to do that. The appellate courts are going to be very deferential to you. It's our position that she's biased. She is charged with second-degree murder. She's facing life in prison. Based on the examination that both state attorneys and defense counsel and the state's expert witnessed today, it is the state's belief that she is intending to testify differently than she testified in the statements that she provided to law enforcement in State's Exhibit 1, and therefore she is biased in all the things that she's testified about today because it is her intent to get this statement, all these statements, or the statement on 225 thrown out so that she is not going to be cross-examined and impeached with.
So I am not the body language expert. Okay. That is Dr. G explains. There are some other people that are body language experts. I learn a ton from watching them, and you can tell that she's very uncomfortable with this. And I think her smirk is a way for her to mask anger. I think she doesn't want to come off as mean, or she doesn't want to let somebody know that they're like making a good point, or that, because she wants to win. Like, she desperately wants to win. And so, like, I think that smirk and the blinking is to manage her anger and her emotions. Some people call it anxiety, and so it could be stress. It could be this is a stressful situation. You don't see her taking a lot of deep breaths. If it was me, I would probably be moving around a little bit, but that's the ADHD. That's the whole thing. But yeah. All right. That's just what I think.
With it so that she can testify the way that she testified this afternoon.
Response.
Judge, I agree with the impeachment about being under the influence. I agree with the impeachment about what she's facing, that she may be biased because she's facing potentially life in prison. He claims 22 years on the low end. I agree with all that. We just got through at the jail meeting with the state's expert who evaluated Sarah Boone. I was present. The two prosecutors were present. It wasn't recorded. He can't be a witness now. If he's going to question her about what was said during that evaluation, then he's putting himself potentially to be a witness down the road. I don't think that's proper cross-examination about what she said there versus what she's saying here.
Anything further? Mr. J.
I am not specifically asking her what she said that was different. And obviously, if I did and she testified differently, I would have to accept that answer. There's no way for me to extrinsically impeach her with that due to the brevity of the time frame that we have all been subjected to. But I do believe it's a fair question to ask her whether or not she intends to testify differently than her statements that are in State's Exhibit 1 and consistently with how she testified this afternoon, and that she understands it would benefit her if these statements are excluded.
So I'm going to sustain the objection based on how the question was asked. I'll allow you to revisit it based on how you just explained it to me.
You gave statements to an evaluator this afternoon, did you not?
I did.
All right. And without going into the details, would you agree that there are some differences in those statements as to what is in the statements you provided to law enforcement on February 25th of 2020?
Yes.
And you understand that I would be able to cross-examine you on giving inconsistent statements at trial if you take the stand, correct?
I understand.
And so you understand the benefit of this motion to suppress being granted.
Of course.
No other questions?
Any redirect examination? Okay. We can have Ms. Boone return back to counsel's table while she's in the process of.
So y'all, gonna fix my camera. There we go. So the judge has not released his ruling yet. He's working on it today, and it's likely going to be a written ruling. I do not see him throwing out the interrogation. I don't see it. I don't see it. So I think anybody would like to look nice. So I put on makeup today. I knew I was going to go live. StreamYard also offers like skin smoothing. Like, I just turned it off. Like, these are like my pores. And then on StreamYard, I have it on subtle today. So the fact that she wants to wear makeup, initially the judge was going to let the defense team apply her makeup, but having the makeup on, it could be contraband. And I think it was uncivil law that said nobody mentioned just having a makeup wipe like that. She could just wipe off the makeup. I think she wants to present herself a certain way to the jury. So when I go on interviews or when I go and do things, I normally put on makeup, but and I think she just wants those little things. If you've seen some of her incident reports from the jail, she stapled her pants to make them like fit her better. I don't know if they're going to have a tailor go in to take her measurements because I guess she's really small, and so I don't know if they're gonna have some tailored outfit for her. The attorney doesn't want her to wear the stun cuff or to be shackled in any way, and her hands are gonna be free, but she's likely going to have the stun cuff on. So all of that happened later. So I feel like females are held to a certain standard. And so her ask for makeup, but like the hairstylist, so like somebody to do her hair. Um, oh, I've never heard of that one. And her hair is just really short. Like, I don't know, like she wants like a curling iron. Like, I don't know what she wanted them to do to her hair. Yes. And so that's why it was written up. Staples are contraband and they had to confiscate it. Uh, and so the hair part got me that. So if it was just makeup, I'd be like, because so everything isn't narcissism. So everything isn't because so a person can just be a jerk and not be a narcissist. And so I do think asking for makeup, okay, but then asking for like a hairstylist and like so that's when Sarah gets a bit extra. And then she says that she's not demanding, she's just making requests, but her requests are perceived as others as quite demanding. And so let me know if y'all have any last minute questions before I hop off. I truly appreciate each and every one of you today because I covered a different trial. It was siblings that were charged in the neglect death of their mother. I do believe they have that sentencing today. And so I'm considering covering it tomorrow. So I might have a pop-up live tomorrow around, let's see, around 11:30 a.m. Eastern. So let me put that on my calendar. Pop. No, it's not pop up if I'm scheduling it. So once I watch that sentencing today, depending on how it goes, I'm most likely going to cover that one tomorrow. All righty. Yes. So I do think that narcissism is a spectrum, okay? And a person can have certain traits come up when they are in a defensive mode, when they are and not meet criteria for that in every area of their life. If I were assessing Sarah Boone, I would want to rule out um, that history of alcoholism, and then just looking at her personality functioning. She seems a bit obsessive, but in a personality style way. But it could just be that she's particular. It could just be that she wants things done a certain way. She's very particular. It's her case and it is her life. And I get her wanting to be so involved, but at times she can overstep and just do a bit too much in my own personal thoughts and opinions. Thank you to the 1,000 of you all that are still here. If you haven't liked and subscribed, go on ahead and check out my channel. This is what I do here. I have a whole Sarah Boone playlist if you want to hear my thoughts on some of the other hearings, some of the other things. And I hope you all enjoy your day. Bye.